All right, I'm going to jump into the first part of this, just announcements anyways, and we're recording this, so if any of you have not been a part of the webinars before, we record these and they'll be sent out to you. Even if you have to leave in the middle of it, you should get the video recording of the actual webinar from start to finish. So my name is Anthony Abbonato. I am here to talk to you about how to avoid neck and upper back pain while you're sheltering at home. It's definitely going to be an area where people might run into some issues because they're having a new work from home setup, or just, you know, some of the daily things that we were doing and no longer are have led to us moving our neck around less. I mean, think about driving. We're all driving a ton less driving. We needed to turn to look at the mirrors. Even that much movement can help to keep your neck healthy. So we are with React Physical Therapy. I am here with Dan Foley, who's over to my right. He is also a panelist. I'm going to use him for some demonstrations. We are both physical therapists here in the Wilmette Clinic. We do have clinics in Chicago. You can find all of that information at bereact.com. Ashley Honan is also here with us. Both of them are going to be keeping an eye on the chat as well as I am, so that if you have any questions, they can answer that while I'm talking to you guys. Or, you know, if I catch it, I'll just try to answer questions as it goes. So feel free to do that. There is a chat button right about down here that you can use to send us any kind of questions. You can choose to send it more privately. If you want to send it directly to us, you can send it to just panelists. That would be myself, Ashley, and Dan. Or you can send it to everyone, and then I'll answer it as best as I can. Without further ado, let's jump in. So, neck pain. Why would working from home and being in the shelter at home lead to more neck pain? So technology is great. We're using it right now, right? We're able to connect with each other, but just being in front of a screen limits you to you're just looking for it all day. You're not having that coworker who's coming over to say hi to you and you're looking to see them. You're not, you know, turning back to the person who works over here to chat with them. And all of that, you know, simple movement that we do throughout the day that we're starting to eliminate can lead to dysfunction, really, especially in the muscles and the joints of the neck and into the upper back, but more likely you're going to have neck issues. And not only that, but we're always at risk of the dreaded tech neck. In the PT world, we call it the forward head posture, but somebody coined a fancy name for it, the tech neck, which is, Dan, don't move. Pretty much what Dan's doing right now. I caught him in the act. He kind of exaggerated it, but it's this forward head posture. So when you're sitting and you're using your phone or you're at a laptop, you have the tendency to let your head drift forward. And, you know, why is that a problem? Well, it really goes back to, if you remember anything from high school physics, which most people don't, is torque, okay? So if a weight is farther away from its point of rotation, then it produces more torque, which requires more from the muscles in your neck to keep your head up. So a great way to demonstrate this is just with a pull on weight. So Dan, I'm going to have you reach your arm forward and hold this. There you go. So right now on this pole, I have a 3-pound weight. Right now, Dan's got no struggle holding it up. But if I were to start sliding that weight farther down, all of a sudden, he's having a lot more trouble holding it up. Come on, keep going, keep going, keep going. Can you even do it? No? Okay, and that's just 3 pounds. And I didn't even move it a full foot, right? So torque is a huge reason why when you take a 10-pound head and you move it even 4 inches forward, you've got so much more strain on the structures of the top of your shoulders and into your neck. So it's really important that we start looking at posture. So that brings you into risk for a whole bunch of physical therapy terms, right? So facet dysfunction, referred headaches, right? There's just a ton of things that we see people come into the clinic that all come from the neck, and being in this position, putting more load into these tissues than you need to be putting into those tissues, puts you more at risk for those things. So let's talk about getting into a better posture. And I will say up front that some of these techniques I'm going to show you are meant to be preventative. So if you're already experiencing tension headaches that are referring from your neck, some of these techniques will help with that. But if it's been something that you're experiencing already, this is not intended to be the thing that will cure it. It's really meant to come beforehand. Make sure you don't get the neck pain and the headaches and the shoulder pain that can come with being in this bad posture. So think about it that way. So the first thing I like to go over when I'm talking about posture is actually looking at the pelvis. So right now, I'll go back to where you were. I loved it. So this is bad posture for the pelvis. It puts the lower back into a rounded position, and this is the foundation for where your weight is. So if this is off, if the pelvis is off, then no matter what you do with the shoulders and the neck, you're still going to be in a bad position. So we start with pelvic tilts. So when you're doing a pelvic tilt, there's two directions you can go. You can go anterior or forward, so go ahead and tilt all the way anterior, or you can go posterior, backwards, where you tilt all the way back, okay? So those are the extremes. I always tell people, if you want to find a good neutral position, just go into the extreme. So go forward, go back into the extreme, and now go into a middle place, right? And if you're in this middle place, even if it's not 100% perfect, you're already setting yourself better than when you were slouched into that position that Dan was. So that's the first place we're going to start. The next place I like to go with posture is the shoulders. So go ahead and relax your arms down. We've got the pelvis set. We're in a good neutral position there. The shoulders tend to be rounded forward. It's a bit of a lazy position for your shoulders, especially when everything we do is in front of us, right? When you're at the keyboard, you're here. When you're driving, you're here. So we do a lot in front of us. The way I cue people to get their shoulders into a good position is to roll their shoulders up and back and then relax them down, okay? And that's really important. You can get into a good position and still be tense, right? You can still be holding yourself there. Your shoulder blades are meant to rest on your rib cage. They fit really nicely on the rib cage, so relax the shoulders down once you get into this position. You should be loose here. You shouldn't be tight. The next thing that we talk about is the head. So we were talking about that really bad tech neck posture where his head is too far forward. You can still, if you set the pelvis and the shoulders right, you can still be in this bad tech neck posture. And we'll talk a little bit about the screen here. This is already biasing him because it's lower into that forward head posture. So the next thing we want to do is think about, you've got a string on the top of your head that's pulling straight up. So we're going to lengthen the neck. There we go. That's perfect. That is essentially what I would think of as perfect posture that Dan's in right now. Now, unfortunately, this means that the screen's way down here and his vision is kind of up here. So this is where we get into how do we change our work from home setup. So ideally, you want the screen, the center of the screen, to be level with your eyes, okay? So for us, we could just take a few textbooks, for example, and move them under the laptops. Go ahead and lift that up. And already we're approaching a better position. You could even raise this a little bit higher if you wanted to, but this is a pretty good position right here. I would almost advocate for 2 more textbooks. We've got more physical therapy textbooks here. We could probably pull them out, but you get the idea. Now, the unfortunate thing with this is that Dan has a laptop, and many of you probably also have a laptop. So raising that screen higher and higher gives us the T-Rex arms, right? Like we're doing one of these. And that's not going to be very fun for your wrists, and that can also bother your elbows. So if you have a laptop, my best suggestion for you is actually to see if you can order online a separate wireless mechanical keyboard and mouse to pair with your computer. It can be Bluetooth, it can be wireless. The wireless ones just come with a USB plug-in. And that will set you into a better position where you can have the screen of your laptop a little bit forward. If I can slide this. You could put your keyboard here, and then you've got the screen at a good level, and then you can still operate in a good place with your hands at the keyboard down here. Yes. So this position is better. His arms are right next to him. His forearms are bent at a 90-degree angle, and his wrists are in neutral, right? He's not doing the T-Rex arm, and he's not super extended. So that would be my best recommendation if you have a laptop. If you have a monitor, it's really simple. You just need to, if you have a desktop, already have a separate keyboard, you just need to raise that screen up to eye level, okay? Now, I'm going to tell you a secret that some people don't talk about when they talk about posture. So Dan, find that. Dan's already slouching a little bit again. We've got to get him on. All right. So even if he's in this perfect posture, right? We're calling it perfect posture. There's no real perfect posture. But this is a good posture. If he spends 8 hours in this position and doesn't move anything, he is going to be tight. Tomorrow he's going to be sore. It's not going to be fun. It's because our body loves to move. This is a good place to make sure that when we're sitting for a long time, we put less load on the neck. That's great. But if we just stay there all day, every day, there's going to be some issues. So from here, what we're going to move into is we're going to talk about what can you do, what strategies can you use at home to make sure you've got movement in your diet, okay? It's really important. Our body is an adaptation machine. You give it a stimulus, whether that be staying perfectly still or putting weight over your head, and your body's going to find a way to adapt to that. It is going to make your muscles stronger. It's going to make your muscles tighter, depending on what the stimulus is. Movement is the best way to get your body to adapt in a positive way. Staying in one position, not so great, okay? And that's where you get those tight muscles, those achy joints, okay? So movement is what I always recommend for people. I'm going to show you right now 3 different techniques you can do while you're sitting at your desk throughout the day. So you start your day, you get into the good posture, right? You start with the pelvis, you do the shoulders, you let them relax, and then you get your neck nice and tall. You've got your setup perfect for yourself. And then an hour later, you find yourself slouching a little bit, which is going to happen. Don't worry about it. Don't stress over it. You're going to end up slouching at some point. When you catch yourself an hour or 2 hours into your workday, the first thing you want to do is get into a good posture again, okay? And forgive yourself for being in a slouch posture. It's okay. But get back into that neutral. Then the next thing I like to have people do when they notice that, 2 hours into the day, is a chin tuck, okay? So that's going to be the opposite of that forward head, right? So this is the forward head. This would be a chin tuck, is an exaggeration of fixing the forward head, right? So this is the nice neutral. Here's the chin tuck, okay? If you can see the difference there is I'm going to really push the chin back, okay? Some people do the chin tucks a little too exaggerated with the head coming back, and this isn't exactly what we're going for. You can see my chin is still too far forward. I want to tuck it in. It's almost like I'm trying to make a double chin. If you could see under my beard, I'm getting the folds of the skin all squished together, and I'm pushing that chin back. You can even use your fingers just to push on your chin, and that can be helpful. You don't have to hold it. I would say you could just do repetitions of that. Just do 10 to 15. And that's a very simple move. All the way down. You having trouble there? Yeah, I'm frozen. Oh no. Hang on, guys. Am I unfrozen now? Yeah. All right, I am unfrozen. Okay. So hopefully you caught, did they catch the end of the chin tucks? Go over the chin tucks one more time, okay? I'll keep it brief, but the chin tucks, just to review, because it looks like I was frozen on my screen just a moment ago. You're coming back into an exaggeration of that good posture, pressing the chin, most importantly, back. Don't arch up, chin back. Just do about 10 to 15 repetitions of those throughout your day, once or twice a day when you're sitting at your desk doing your work. The next thing that I'm going to go over is just a head roll. So that brings your head and your neck through your full range of motion, okay? If you already have some amount of neck pain, you might have the direction of motion that is difficult for you. It causes a little bit of pain. Just do that part of the head roll less, okay? Do it to a point where you don't have pain, where it's not going to aggravate any neck pain that you already have. So I like to start with a fully forward position, okay? And then from here, turn your chin to the side, tilt back from here. Bring your chin forward so that you're now looking all the way up. Chin comes to the right now. Tilt forward. Follow the chin forward and all the way down. You can do that in both directions. Just do it nice and slow and controlled. If you get a stretch in one position, that's great. And just move through that maybe 3 times in each direction, okay? The last one that I like to do while you're sitting at your desk is more to do with your upper back, right? So when you're constantly in this forward position with your arms and you're constantly at your desk, if you slouch a lot, what ends up happening is the muscles here in your back get stretched out. All the way around. And I actually do want you to round your back here because we're going to go through a full range of motion. Remember, movement is important. So we're going to go through this rounded position. And then from here, we're going to open up and externally rotate our hands out. I see a question coming in. I'm going to address it in just a second. So from here, keeping your elbows right tucked at your side, you're extending your chest forward, and you're squeezing your shoulder blades back as much as you can. Squeeze, 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 and then come back forward, round, let things in the back stretch out a bit, and then arch and stretch. And remember, this is just mobility. We're just moving through the range of motion that everyone should have. If you already have an injury and you know that one of those motions is going to bother it, you can avoid those. But if you're just trying to prevent anything from happening, going into both directions just through a light mobility exercise is good. Okay. So are there any concerns with going too far back with the neck when you're looking straight up? So Dan's already put an answer there. So as long as there's no sharp pain, it's fine. You should be able to, if you have a normal functioning neck with no dysfunction, no injury, there's no problem with looking back. You're not going to injure anything. I mean, don't push it, right? You're not stretching. No one's pushing you in that direction. You're just looking up naturally. That's going to be fine. You're not hanging out there for a long time. That's important. If you were to spend 2 minutes there, that would suck. You get a lot of tightness in the back of the neck. Those muscles would ache from trying to hold you into that position. But just being there briefly is going to be perfectly safe. Now, once again, I'm just going to reiterate, if you already have an injury to your neck, that's a different story. Don't go into any position that is difficult for you, that you really have to push into. If you feel like you're forcing it, don't do it. And if you know that position is already bad for any injury you have, then also avoid that and just go into a little less of that motion. So if you know this aggravates something, go down and up and then just come across. And that's perfectly fine. All right. Hopefully that answered that question. Okay. So those are the 3 that I wanted to go over that you can do at your desk. Let's just incorporate it to your day. Make sure that you have movement in your diet so that you don't have those bad adaptations to the tissues where the tendons get achy, the muscles get super tight, the joints start talking to you. You don't want that. Movement is going to be key for that. The next thing I'm going to show you is things that you can do outside of your work environment to help strengthen and give some mobility in an extra way to kind of further prevent, because we have an extra amount of sitting at a computer nowadays. So this would be a good thing to include in your routine, whether that be at the beginning of the day, end of the day, during your lunch hour. These are going to be good to include in some kind of structured format. So the first is just neck stretches. There's 2 that I'm going to go over. They're very straightforward. You're going to tilt your head to the side, use that same arm to put a gentle stretch in that direction. And one of them is going to be looking up slightly, holding, and then the other is going to be looking down slightly and holding. Okay? Those 2, you can do that for, when I like to stretch, I like to hold for a full 2 minutes, but some people get impatient with that. So if you need to break it up, do only so many, at a time, do 30-second holds, 3 of them. 3 30-second holds is the minimum of what I would recommend for any stretching. And stretching really is going to be a long-term thing. When you do any kind of stretching, passive stretching like this, you're stretching your hamstrings, it takes a long time for that to make a change to those tissues. So it's got to be something to keep up with, all right? Like I said, if you can hold it for 2 minutes, hold it for 2 minutes, or 3 sets of 30 seconds if you'd like to break it up. And how are we doing on video? All the quality come through? All right, perfect. The next mobility stuff that we have, we're gonna move to the floor. So I'm gonna have Dan head over here to the floor. Yeah, I'm gonna do the grass station. All right. So right now we have a foam roller. If you don't have a foam roller at home, get a bath towel, roll it up as tight as you can. One of the big bath towels. Roll it up really tight, and you can use that in place of a foam roller. Okay. So what you're going to do is you're going to position this kind of in the mid-back, right where the shoulder blades are, and you're just going to use that as a fulcrum. You're going to extend your back over that to try to get an extension moment. We tend to be hunched over at the desk all day, so moving into this extension is going to be great for us. Dan puts his hands behind his head, and then he tries to arch here. Notice that his hips are on the floor. He's not lifting them. And he's going to try to keep his rib cage locked down lower here while he arches his upper back. You can do, I always recommend finding 2 to 3 spots where you feel like you can get some movement. So maybe he's going to roll up on the foam roller. Yep. So he's going to find a new spot. Perfect. And he's going to do it there. So for this, I'd recommend holding for just about 3 seconds, coming out of it, and then coming back. Holding for about 3 seconds and doing that 10 times in each spot, those 2 to 3 spots where you feel like you want to get some movement. And you'll know, when you do this, you'll know where you want that foam roller to be. You'll be able to feel what's stiff. So that's the first one. The next one that I'm going to show you is what we call a release, an active release technique. So we're going to grab that lacrosse ball over there. Yep, so this is going to be for your upper trap. So if you can see where Dan has it right now, he's not on the top of his upper trap, which is typically where we do a release for the upper trap, but you likely don't have a barbell at home that you can use, so you're just going to come to the back of that, okay? There's a really bony part of your shoulder blade. You want to be above that, okay? You don't want to be on bone. That's going to feel really uncomfortable, and you'll know it. So here, he's going to get it onto that kind of meaty, squishy part of his upper trap, and he's going to lay down on that spot. He's holding it there for now, but then when he bridges up, so he's going to press his heels into the floor. Good. And he's going to have, that's going to be locked in. There's going to be pressure on that muscle. He knows it. He can feel it. Then he's going to take a straight arm. Good. And he's going to reach up. Perfect. And then come down. And he's got a little pain case going. That's okay. It's going to be uncomfortable. The active release technique is not super comfortable. It should feel like a deep tissue massage, okay? You're not going to spend long here. You're going to do 30 seconds or 15 to 20 repetitions of moving your arm, whichever you prefer to count by, okay? And then you can do that on both sides. So that's the upper trap release. The next one we're going to show is a rhomboid release. I'm going to have Dan face away. On yourself. It's almost like pressing into something that's really hard and rocky versus something that's squishy. You're going to want the ball to be set in between those 2 spots on the muscle itself, okay? And then you're going to lay down on that. So Dan, go ahead and show that from the side now. So lay down. Stop it. Yeah, there you go. So set that up. So Dan's going to find that spot. Yep. Go ahead, I'd say go lower than that. So go ahead and bridge up. Yeah. There you go. Yep, so try to come down this way. All right, there you go, there you go. So he's gonna get his body totally settled on that. If this is too intense for you, because this is a tough one, you can do this up against a wall instead, okay? So from here, he's gonna do the same motion, reaching his arm up. Good, and then coming back down. Same thing as with the upper trap release, doing this for 10 to 15 repetitions of moving the arm, or for 30 seconds, whichever you'd prefer to count. All right, good. Go ahead and come out of that. All right, so those are the mobility pieces that you can do. Remember, neck stretches, using the extension on the foam roller or a bath towel, doing the upper trap release. If you don't have a lacrosse ball, you can use a tennis ball. I wouldn't recommend a baseball. Those are pretty tough. So hopefully a tennis ball you have at home. It tends to be a common household item. And then the rhomboid release. All right. So the next thing we're going to go over is a few strengthening techniques. So the first one we're going to start with is a push-up plus. Yep. So we're going to keep Dan here. He's going to go into a plank position, okay? And if this is tough for you, you can always do a plank from your knees, okay? And then, yep, that's perfect. So go ahead into the full plank position, though. We'll demonstrate from there. So the idea with this is that you're actually going to move your trunk. You're not going to bend your elbows at all. So go ahead and sag the trunk all the way. Good. And now push your trunk all the way towards the ceiling. Good. So this is what the push-up plus is. Then come all the way down, and then all the way back. So you're training your serratus anterior here. It's what keeps your shoulder blade locked to your rib cage. And it tends to be weak on just about everyone, unless you're a really well-trained athlete. So this, it's a great way to help stabilize your shoulder blade to prevent back pain. Because what you end up happening is if you're sitting all day and you've got a bad posture, your rhomboids are trying to hold your shoulder blades to your rib cage, and they get tight and angry. The serratus anterior being weak should be helping. So strengthening it will give the rhomboid some relief. Both of them will work together instead. All right. So the next one is going to be a thread the knee hold. So here we're going to go on to hands and knees. Yep. So, and in this position, you're going to do, start with a push-up plus. So sag all the way. Yep. And then press all the way up. So this all the way up, this is the position where you want to start this. From here, he's going to take one hand and he's going to reach through this gap. Perfect. Good. And he's still pushing away. Don't let this sag while you're going through the movement. And then from here, he's going to reach out and open up. Good. Getting some movement in this upper back. You can really see he's rotating while he's pushing away. So another way to train the serratus anterior while you're also doing some mobility. Go ahead and do another repetition. So all the way through. Good. And then reaching all the way out. The whole time he's pushing away with this arm. He's even shaking a little bit at the shoulder. That tells me that he's doing a good job. He's trying really hard. Perfect. Go ahead and relax. Okay. So that is one of the strengthening pieces that you can do. The next one we're going to go over is a row. So we're going to take you over here. Can you grab a bread there, man? So hopefully you have a band at home. Exercise bands tend to be pretty common, especially if you've worked with us before, you probably have gotten an exercise band. But if not, I would recommend finding some kind of band to use at home. They're so versatile. You can use them for so many different exercises. I'm just going to show you one today, but you really can do a lot with them. So from here, you've got the band set against something in your house. You can hook it into a door. You can have it around a banister, whatever works in your house. From here to elbow height, okay? And then he is going to have his arms straight. He's already got some tension on the band. Make sure you have tension on the band to start, because if you don't, then it's not going to be a very challenging strengthening exercise. The movement then is then pulling the band back. He's letting his elbows bend, and he's keeping his arms slightly away from his body. He's not totally against his side, and he's not all the way out here, right? This is definitely, don't do this. He's just, his elbows are slightly away from his body, okay? He's going to really squeeze his shoulder blades back when he draws back. That's really important, okay? And then he's going to reach forward. Something that I see a lot of people do with this is as they pull back, they push the head forward. Go ahead and show that. That's no bueno. Okay? Make sure that you're not pushing into this position. We already talked about why that's more load for the muscles in your neck. So when you're doing the exercise, practice that good position by keeping the head nice and tall. Perfect. The other thing that you want to avoid is you don't want the shoulders to come forward and up. Okay? That's going to over-rely on your upper trap, and cause a lot of tension there. Make sure you're squeezing your shoulders down and back, getting that chest open. Perfect. Thanks. All right. So to review the strengthening techniques that you guys can be doing, we had the push-up plus, we had the thread the needle, and then we did a row with an elastic band. So with that, that is what I'm going to give you guys to help facilitate, a better posture, good strength in your upper back, good mobility, and hopefully help prevent some of the neck pain that I feel like is somewhat inevitable from us being at our computers so much in this in the quarantine. I will say, if you are having trouble trying to fit everything together at your work from home station, whatever you have set up, we are doing personal assessments to your setup. So we'll set up a video chat with you and give you advice on that. We have two different packages for it. One is just going to be, we'll help you get it set up. We'll tell you how you can change things, give you cues on your posture over video chat. And then if you also want a personalized exercise program on top of that, there's another package that will be both the assessment and giving you some exercises that you can do. In addition to that, we are doing free screens. If you're thinking right now, like maybe I need some PT, but I don't know for sure, we always have free screens. We do have them in clinic right now. Whenever we have anyone that we're working with in the clinic, we do have masks that we're wearing. We have plenty of hand sanitizer, and we're spreading everyone out so that there's no one, we don't have two people in the clinic at the same time. So we can do free screens in the clinic, or we can do it over video chat. We'll have a conversation with you about what you're experiencing, what that's been like, and give you some advice on if you do need PT. If you know for certain, like this is just bad enough, I really know I need PT, I don't need to figure out if it's right for me, we can jump right to the initial evaluation. We are doing that over video chat as well as in person. So feel free to reach out to us in those regards. But with all of that being said, any other questions? Any stretches for carpal tunnel that you can recommend? Actually, if you are with someone at home, there's one that I really like to have people do for that. So I'm going to borrow your wrist. Someone else would be doing this for you, okay? So you're going to have, because the carpal tunnel really exists right here, right? So you're going to have someone come and grab along your thumb, kind of like this, and then along the palm from your pinky, and then go into stretching a little bit. You might get a little bit of that carpal tunnel sensation here, but as long as it's not significant, that's okay. And they're going to kind of stretch just gently out in this direction and in, okay? And they're going to pulse that. It's not going to be sustained. Don't do the sustained. That's what I'd recommend for now, and it's not a lot of pressure. Your hand it's got a lot of small joints, small bones, so you don't need to put a lot of pressure for that. That's something that you could try. But other than that, if you are experiencing a lot of carpal tunnel symptoms, I would say let us know and see if we can do a more personalized treatment for you. Hip and glute tension from all the sitting we're doing, that's not really the focus of this, but if we did a work from home assessment for you, we could definitely give you some advice for that. Any stretch that you know that's going to stretch the back will help, and I've got a few in mind, but I'd say we'd want to take a look at your setup as well. All right. Any other questions? I like it. Feel free to keep asking questions. Love it. All right. I think that most people have asked their question. Ashley is going to be making sure that all of you guys get the video recording. And with that, it's going to be a very small few slides on contact information for myself and Dan. In addition, you can always find information on how to contact any of the clinics, whichever you're closest to. If you know any of the therapists and you want to work with them specifically, you can go to bereact.com. That is BEREACT.com. Physical therapy is direct access, so You can come to get a free screen and an evaluation from us without going to your primary doctor first. So feel free to just reach out if you want to get into contact with us without going through any other hoops first. Thank you so much for joining in. I had a good time presenting. You guys had great questions. And hopefully you can add some movement back into your diet and avoid all the neck pain. Bye, guys.